we work really well with like these guys that have a summit. They have a mountain to climb. And who that is somebody that controls your hours. That's a founder, that's an entrepreneur, that's a business owner. They're still in the game. Recently, like we've had a whole ton of clients that own a bunch of Taco Bells and Burger Kings and franchises. We've kept hearing this name. This one name comes up over and over and over again. Greg Flynn. He is probably the largest franchise owner in the world today. He went to Stanford Business School, right? It was interesting because he didn't go into VC or tech. He went into franchising food. And so he got to start basically by creating something called World Wraps, which was a restaurant that was trying to be the mini Chipotle back in the 90s, right? And he got to 14 stores, but then he kind of hit some problems with raising capital because they didn't know who World Wraps was, right? They didn't have a proven brand name. He couldn't kind of get landlords to just be like, hey, look, like, yes, we will be here for a long time, right? We're a proven name, like we're going to be there. So he kind of was like, how do I really find the right opportunity? He got lucky by kind of finding about Applebee's, multi-unit owner that was selling 8 units in Seattle. He kind of reached out, found it, and he went off, right? He basically found out, hey, look, Applebee's had a good brand name. Customers already knew the brand back in the 90s. And so he took a loan out and he acquired 8. And over time, he just focused on it. Nothing else. He didn't have a side business. He grew the 8 to 400. And so if you fast forward today, 2023, like he has Arby's, Wendy's, Panera, Applebee's, Taco Bell, and Pizza Hut's, right? And there's just so many different brands he has, right? It's almost like 2,400, I believe. What's interesting about him is like what I say about a lot of our successful clients, like he's really just 30-year overnight success story. One of the quotes he said in one of his podcasts is it's as hard as to build a $1 billion business as a $100 million business, and you might as well aim ambitiously as high as possible, right? He had kind of a belief in the long-term vision, right? So he was really high conviction, stubborn on the vision, flexible in the details, very similar to Bezos, right? What was interesting though was he had very talented group of leaders that were focusing on different areas. So one person was in charge of like getting some capital, getting finance, right? Another person was in charge of operations. And he really had a very systematic way of approaching his leadership, right? How many times do you hear a client come or some potential or somebody come to us and says, hey, I have 10 businesses and they don't make more than like 7 figs, right? And then you hear somebody who's like, yeah, we do well. And they have an 8-figure, 9-figure, right? But they focused on one thing and just kept going at it, right?
Yeah, it's almost counterintuitive. You think that when you get more wealthy, you'll have more opportunities. You want to aggregate as much deal flow as possible. But it's like you said, in our 1,000 patients, we have seen that basically the opposite is true. The people that are most successful just focused and, dialed on one thing. I used to kind of think it was kind of cliche talking to a successful CEO and he's like, I'm the dumbest person in my company. Which obviously that person wasn't, but I guess what that person was really trying to convey is that they surround themselves with employees, like incredibly astute employees that are ready to take on everything, that have a can-do attitude, that if there's a problem, they are solutions oriented and they will find that solution. Hire slow, fire fast, but when you get someone that's really good, try to cultivate them and grow them. You 10x that, and you got some really, really amazing people around him. And obviously the way in which his business grew is testament to the fact that he picked the right people.